Good morning. This is Dr. Webb, Big Data Analytics with Colorado Technical University. I understand there's a few of you that are having problems with the assignment, so I was going to show you a little um, path as far as how to go forward with this assignment. First of all, the data that I'm going to be using is data that was provided from one of your classmates. On this assignment, the first thing that you want to do is this report or this spreadsheet, you need to fix to kind of normalize it somewhat. Um, so the first thing you'd want to do is we're going to save it into a CSV format. So once you have it up on the screen, go to File, Save As, and you'll see I already changed it. So what you'll do here is you have all these different options. You'll find the CSV and use a comma delimited format to save it as. Place it in the directory that's going to be your working directory for RStudio. For mine, it's the My Documents folder. Now remember, using RStudio, you can use the Get Working Directory command, which is GET, WD, paren, in order to see what your working directory is, and then therefore you'll know where to store this. I'll show you again once we get over to the RStudio side. Okay, so now I'm going to save it as a comma delimited format. On here, it already exists. Okay, I got it. Here you're going to have a few things I'm going to tell you as far as that the original one that I had here, it had multiple worksheets and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't support it. I say, okay, don't care. And as you can see on here on the bottom of the screen, well, you can't see on the bottom of your screen, my screen, but on the bottom of the screen, it's a large file. It might take a little while. Same thing here. Do you want to keep the work in this workbook format? I'll say yes. Okay. The next thing you want to do, and I should have done this first, but it's okay. And on this example, I'm going to be only using the vendor name field, and I'll be using the attestation year field. Okay, I'm using these two fields. One of the things that you'll find with RStudio doesn't really care for very well is spaces in between the file names. If you notice, a lot of these file names have like a EHR space product. Well, initially this file here, vendor name, it was vendor space name, like such. So what I did is I closed it up, so there's no space between it. That's why I'm going to need to use it when I get to RStudio. And I did the same thing for attestation year. It used to be attestation space year, and like so. And what I did is I closed it up. Delete that. Okay. Now everything's good. I'll go ahead and I'll save it. Same thing again. Yes. Okay. Now, as far as this file, it is now formatted in a way that I can use in RStudio. So, the next file that we're going to be using is we're going to bring up RStudio. Okay. In RStudio, I've already run this script just to play with it to make sure that it was going to work for us. And here's the commands that I use actually on the command line. Remember I was telling you before, as far as you want to check what your working directory is, you go here to Files, you click, here's the working directory. Now to actually see on the screen what the working directory is, I can use the command get WD, which is get working directory, then paren, and I'll just run just that portion of the screen. Or let's get the whole thing in there. And then I can just run just that I've highlighted. And on the bottom I can see the full path name as far as where my working directory is for RStudio. And it's C:\users\papa\documents. And that's this directory over here. I can also further verify it by coming over here and I'll look for the file that's called MU report -1 CSV. And so as we come down here, did I pass that? I don't know. Let me refresh. You can hit this over here as a refresh your screen. Now let's look for it. There it is. MU report. Now you can't really open it up here because it exceeds the, this file is 109 meg. It'll exceed the editor's capability. The editor for RStudio only opens up, natively only opens up like a 2 meg file. So you don't even try to open it. You're wasting your time. Instead, let's go ahead and run our script. Okay, now let's look at the script again. Again, this is this example that I'm using. Like I said, I've showed you this previously on the 23rd of August. It is the exact same script for the most part. I just changed it or modified it to adapt for this new file. My data, that's what we're going to be putting it into. And then we use the command read.csv, paren, and then within the arguments for this is one, you put in the file name, mu underline report -1.csv. That's the file name that I'm going to be reading into my data. And then true tells the system to use that the first line within this the data is going to be our headings. Then the next argument that comes after that, this comma, it's to denote that this field is delimited using commas. It's a comma delimited file. Okay, and head my data means it's just going to print out just the heading stuff down here for me, just so I can see what it looks like as it's running the script. It's not necessary; you don't have to have it on there, but I like to do that anyway, just so I can see when the script first comes up. Then finally, the actual script that you're going to use, you could have used just about any of the functions over here in any of the packages that are here, the statistical packages. You could have picked any of them. The one that I picked was this one called just the plot. I like using the plot. Again, it's not very meaningful, but it's okay. It's just, again, just to give you an example of how to use this. And again, it comes out of the graphics package. Okay, so again, you can go back and look at the previous videos to see a little more about that. So anyways, here's the command, plot. Now, when you use the plot command, you first start off with the actual, what you've called it as far as the data file. Here it's called my data, then you put the $, then you put the field name for the first argument. So it's my data $, vendor name, comma, my data $, and the second field that we're going to be comparing it against is the one that says attestation year. Remember, I got rid of the year, the space in between year and that space that was between vendor name. And that's how it's on that actual file. Then the next argument that's part of the plot function is the Y label, and on the Y label I'm going to put year, and on the X label, comma, X label I'm going to put in the title vendor. Okay, let's run this and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, it's going to take a few minutes because, again, a very big file. Also, as a point out, is another thing. Remember, when you put true up here, it has to be in all capital letters, or else it's going to blow up. It's not going to, you'll have error if it's not. Okay, it's still working. There. And as you can see the results, again, because the particular fields I use, this data just kind of scrunched together as far as on this field, on this screen. But still, this is just to give you an example as far as how this thing works. Realistic because the number of variables, as far as vendor names, they're just, again, it's just so tight. You can't see them all listed on the screen, but here's the years. Okay, but this is a quick example as far as how you go about in solving this solution for this equation, for this assignment. Okay, all right, hopefully this has been helpful, and good luck.